Ever notice how sometimes in a show, the hair and wigs are so good, it's like they almost steal the show?
Hmm.
That's what we're diving into today.
Right.
The world of a performance hairdresser.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's way more than just like curling and spraying.
Right.
We're going behind the scenes with RoleCatcher's career guides,
Hmm.
and they have all the inside info on what this job really takes.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest misconception people have about performance hairdressers?
Well, I think a lot of people, they think it's all about like making someone look pretty, but it really goes so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're like artistic architects, but instead of buildings, they're using hair to build the character and the story and this whole world on stage.
Wow, okay, I'm already hooked. Give me an example. How does that play out like in an actual production?
Okay, so imagine a historical drama.
Okay.
Like, even just one hair curl that's out of place, it could totally shatter the illusion for people and pull them out of that world. And so these performance hairdressers are working with that level of detail, like where every single strand matters. And they're also working directly with the directors, the costume designers, to make sure that everything, like literally every single detail, supports the artistic vision of the entire play.
Wow. It's almost like they have to be historians themselves on top of everything else,
Yeah, definitely.
knowing all the different periods and styles.
Yeah.
Speaking of expertise, let's talk about the elephant, or should I say the wig in the room.
Absolutely. Wigs, wigs, wigs. Wigs are just a whole other level of artistry. Maintaining them, repairing them, that's a huge part of the job. And it requires a really unique skill set beyond even what a regular hairdresser would do, because these wigs go through so much wear and tear every night under the hot lights.
Yeah, for sure. It's not like they can just slap some conditioner in there if it starts looking rough halfway through.
Right.
One thing I thought was really interesting in the guide was it mentioned 3D printing. That's changing things in the wig game.
Mhm.
What is that for? Is that like for making the molds or something?
Yeah. It's even cooler than that.
Okay.
It can actually create like entire wigs.
Wow.
Often with like really intricate designs that would be so hard to do by hand and would just take forever.
That's amazing. So it sounds like this field is always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, I feel like anybody who's ever even just peeked backstage knows that this is not a job for the faint of heart. Like, RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat the demands of this job.
No, no, not at all. It is incredibly rewarding, but it is demanding. Long hours, a lot of pressure, especially early on.
Right?
You're looking at, not always a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
It can be up and down.
Yeah, that makes sense because the show's open, they close. It's not like you're guaranteed a steady paycheck. It's almost more like being a freelancer, I guess.
Exactly. You have to get comfortable with that kind of ebb and flow
Yeah.
and constantly be out there, like, hustling for the next gig.
Yeah. So you've got the passion, you've got the talent, you've got a whole lot of dry shampoo ready to go. How do you actually launch a career in this crazy world?
Yeah.
Because RoleCatcher, they lay out like a pretty clear progression, almost like leveling up in a video game.
Yeah, it's a really good analogy. Usually you start as an assistant hairdresser, and it's all about hands-on learning. You're assisting, more senior stylists and just like absorbing everything, the techniques, and getting used to the pace backstage.
Oh, I bet those dressing rooms are something else.
Oh, yeah.
Organized chaos, hairspray fumes in the air,
Yeah.
maybe a little diva meltdown every now and then.
You'd be surprised. But yeah, it's really through that immersion that you develop the speed and the precision you need. And just that, like on your feet problem solving that you really need in this job.
Totally. So you're paying your dues, you're mastering all the fundamentals. What's that next level up moment?
So then you move up to junior performance hairdresser,
Mhm.
and that's where you start to have more responsibility. So you might be styling individual performers. Maybe you're tackling some of the less complex wigs. Maybe you're assisting with the wig maintenance.
So you're still under the wing of the more seasoned pros, but you're getting to like spread your creative wings a little bit more.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is also where mentorship is really key. Because not only are you still learning from the best, but you also might be training newer assistants. So you're passing on those skills.
Oh, that's a whole other skill set in itself.
Yeah.
Being a good teacher is an art form too.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you've honed your craft. You're like a wig whispering ninja. What's next on this career ladder?
The next step is senior performance hairdresser. And this is where you're really leading a team, you're managing maybe multiple productions at once, and you might even have a voice in the overall hair design for the show, which is really cool.
Oh, wow. So now we're talking, you're not even just executing someone else's vision. You're really getting to shape the whole look.
Yeah.
That must be so creatively fulfilling.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, With greater creative control comes a lot more pressure, a lot more responsibility. You're managing budgets, you have to navigate different personalities, and you just always have to make sure that everything is absolutely perfect for opening night.
Talk about high stakes. I bet those like diplomacy skills, your communication skills, that's like just as important as actually knowing how to do hair at that point.
Totally, yeah. You have to have it all. And then finally, you reach the top, the head performance hairdresser.
Okay. Top dog, ultimate hair authority.
Yeah.
What does that even look like day to day?
You're essentially running the entire department. You're overseeing every single thing that has to do with hair. From hiring, managing all the staff, to setting budgets, and then making sure that you are completely up to date on all the new trends and things.
That's a lot. It sounds like you have to be like incredibly creative, but also ridiculously organized.
Yeah. And one thing that RoleCatcher mentions, which I thought was really important, is that building your portfolio throughout this whole journey is essential.
Oh, yeah. Because you got to show people, not just tell them. What kind of things should people be like putting in their portfolio?
Everything. High-quality photos of your work, like detailed breakdowns of the different productions that you've worked on, testimonials from performers or directors that you've worked with. It's all about building that visual resume.
And networking, right. This industry is all about who you know, making those connections.
For sure. You got to go to industry events. You got to connect with other artists, stage managers. Just get your name out there. And actually, speaking of that, RoleCatcher included this whole section on common interview questions, which I thought was really interesting because it kind of gives you a sense of what to expect.
Oh, let's hear it. I bet our listeners are dying to know what kind of curveball questions are they going to get in one of these interviews.
Yeah.
So give me a hard one. What's a question they like to ask that will really tell you who knows their stuff and who doesn't?
Okay, well, one that always comes to mind is, tell me about a time you had to handle a really tough situation or a really demanding artist. And it makes sense, because they want to know that you can handle the pressure of live theater. Because things can get crazy, right?
Yeah, big time.
Lots of emotions flying around, so they need to know that you can roll with it.
Yeah, you need more than just the technical skills. You need those people skills, too.
Absolutely.
Any other questions that stick out to you?
There was one about safety considerations, especially with the chemicals and the heat styling, which I thought was really interesting. It's a good reminder that this job is about more than just making people look good,
Right.
It's about their health and safety, too,
Yeah,
especially when you're working with those chemicals and hot tools every single night.
Totally. It's like you're the hair guardian. You got to make it look fabulous, but it also has to, like, stay healthy. Speaking of guardian, have you ever had, like, a major hair mishap on a production? One of those oh no moments where you need to like channel your inner MacGyver to fix it?
Oh my gosh, let me tell you. I have seen it all. Wig malfunctions, last minute hairstyle changes, you name it. I remember one time, opening night, and the lead actress's wig basically exploded right before she had to go on stage.
No way. Was she freaking out?
Oh, it was total chaos backstage. But we somehow managed to sew it back together. And she made it on stage with minutes to spare. The audience never even knew.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You really do need nerves of steel to do this job. It really makes you appreciate the dedication and artistry that goes into every single hairstyle you see on stage.
It's true. And it can be demanding, for sure. But there's also this really deep sense of satisfaction because you're taking someone else's vision and making it real. And RoleCatcher talked about that, and it really resonated with me.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Because it really is different from working in like a salon. In a salon, you're focused on what the client wants, their individual style. But here, you're part of this whole team.
Exactly.
And you're bringing together the director's vision and what the costume designer's doing, even how the actor's interpreting the role. All of that comes out in the hair.
Exactly. You're speaking my language. And it takes a certain kind of person, you know? You have to be willing to put your ego aside and really focus on what the production needs. Because it's not about you, it's about the whole picture. The hair, the makeup, the costumes, they all have to work together.
So for our listeners who are now totally fascinated by this whole world, what's like the one big takeaway here? What does it take to not just make it, but really thrive as a performance hairdresser?
I'd say it's a mix of things. You need passion, you need resilience, and you got to really appreciate the magic of theater. Technical skills are a must, of course, but you also have to be adaptable, able to think on your feet, and really love collaborating with people.
And it helps if you don't mind the smell of hairspray.
That too.
Well, this deep dive is giving me a whole new respect for the artistry and talent it takes to do this job. It's amazing to think about all those wigs and curls and every single hair perfectly in place. There's a whole hidden world of creative people behind it all, and it was awesome to get a peek behind the curtain today.
I agree. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
And for our listeners, if you want to learn more, definitely check out RoleCatcher's full career guide. It's got tons of great tips on how to break into this field. And as you go about your day, think about this. Think about a time you were part of a team, maybe at work or volunteering, or even planning a surprise party. What was it like working with everyone to reach a common goal? What were the challenges? What made it rewarding? It might surprise you how much those same skills apply to the world of a performance hairdresser. Until next time, happy learning.